It was late October, and I'd finally cleared my schedule enough to schedule a weekend getaway. Hunting had always been a way for me to clear my head and just get away from all the stresses of life. I'd rented a cabin deep in the woods that seemed perfect from the pictures online. The road leading to the cabin was a narrow dirt road. I pulled up to my cabin just as the sun was rising. The air was fresh, and the woods were dead silent, broken only by the crunch of my boots as I unloaded my bags from the car. A little too silent. I couldn't hear the birds chirping or squirrels running up and down the trees. Not even the leaves were rustling. It felt like the woods had been frozen in time. I shrugged it off and let myself into the cabin. It was modest, one room with a small kitchen, a creaky twin bed, and a fireplace. The place was dingy and dirtier than the pictures had shown, but it would do just fine. I unpacked, loaded my rifle, and headed out into the woods. I wandered north, searching for signs of deer. Hours passed, but I found absolutely nothing. I'd been hunting in this area before, and it had been full of all kinds of wildlife. Now, there didn't even seem to be any bugs chirping around. Gave me the creeps, but I pressed on, not wanting my trip to go to waste. Finally, when the sun was setting and just as I was about to turn back, I heard noises ahead. I scurried forward, hoping to catch the animal before it got away. That's when I saw them. Through the trees, maybe 50 yards away, was a group of people gathered around a fire. There were 6 or 7 of them, all wearing dark robes with hoods that obscured their faces. They stood in a circle, chanting in low, guttural voices that didn't sound like any language I'd ever heard. I froze. The people hadn't noticed me. They swayed in unison, muttering on and on. My heart pounded in my chest. I clutched my gun tight. I knew these people were bad news, so I slowly began to creep backwards. I went very slowly, careful not to step on a twig or rustle a leaf. When I was far enough, I turned and sprinted straight for my cabin. My mind raced the whole way there. Who were those people? What were they doing out here? I got back to my cabin and ran for the door. I pulled out the key and grabbed the doorknob, but to my horror, the door pushed open. It had been left ajar, but I knew for sure that I had shut and locked it before I left. My stomach twisted as I stepped inside the dark cabin. I turned on the light and saw my bag had been overturned. The contents dumped along the floor. My sleeping bag had been ripped off the bed and torn down the middle. Someone had broken into my cabin. I scoured the inside with my gun, making sure no one was inside. Once I confirmed it was empty, I shut and locked all the doors and windows again. I gathered up my stuff, ready to get in my car and get the hell out. And then it started storming. Not just a light rain. It felt like buckets of water were being dumped on the roof of the cabin. Thunder struck constantly. I thought back to the sketchy dirt road I'd driven in on and realized I didn't want to take my chances on it, even if that meant staying in these woods. I heated up some food in the fireplace but didn't feel very hungry. Every noise I heard outside made me jump, thinking of those weird, robed people and who could have broken into my cabin. Exhaustion started to catch up with me. I crawled into bed, still clutching my gun. My nerves wouldn't let me fully relax, but eventually, I fell asleep. I woke up to the sounds of voices. At first, I thought I was dreaming. The low chanting was faint, almost drowned out by the pounding rain in my ears. But as I sat up, it grew louder. I clutched my rifle and crept to the window. They were outside. The same group I'd seen in the woods was now standing in a loose circle around the cabin. Even through the rain and walls of my cabin, I could hear their guttural chants. Goosebumps rippled on my arms, and my heart hammered in my chest. I slammed open the window and shouted into the rain, "Get the hell out of here!" They didn't flinch. They just kept chanting, "Get out of here or I'll shoot!" I slammed the window, brandishing my weapon through the glass. I grabbed my phone and called the cops. They told me they'd send a car out as soon as possible. I spent an agonizing 20 minutes keeping an eye on the robed figures through the rain. About 5 minutes before the cops came, the figures disappeared into the woods. The cops came. They scanned the surrounding area but found no trace of the cult. They followed me back into town and assured me that it was probably just kids playing a prank on me. I want to believe him, but deep down I know something more sinister was going down that night.